What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're coming at you with another entry into our new series, Battle on a Budget, where we basically take a look at competitive and semi-competitive decks that newer players can, start playing without needing cards like Shaymin EX, versus Seeker, or maybe some of the other sought-after staple cards that can be a little difficult to get your hands on when you're first starting out in the game. So for this video, we're going to be taking a look at Garchomp. And Garchomp's actually a deck that I think would be very viable in the competitive scene if the format shifts to something less item lock heavy. So this is actually one of the most hyped cards, I think, from BREAKpoint. And I think it has a lot of promise and is very budget friendly too. So I felt like it was worth taking a look at. So let's just start talking about the Pokemon we have. As we said, Garchomp is the main focus of this deck. So Garchomp is a stage 2 with 130 hit points, has the attack Turbo Assault for a fighting energy. You do 60 damage and attach an energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. So that's a very good attack. One energy for 60 is great. And also it lets you get any energy out of your discard. So that can be a basic energy or a special energy. So we're playing strong energy in our list, so that means, maybe we have to discard a couple strong energies for some reason, or a Garchomp that has some strong energies gets knocked out. Well, guess what? We can actually re-accelerate those back onto a Pokemon using this attack. So that's really, really good. And also it has the attack Bite Off for 2 fighting energy. It does 80 plus 80 more if they are an EX. So 160 is nothing to scoff at for just 2 energy on a non-EX attacker. So that means you're knocking out Shaymins instantly. And also, if you have a Garchomp with just a single strong energy on it and do Bite Off, you're doing 180 damage, which means you knock out pretty much every non-fighting Fury Belted Pokemon EX in the game, other than like maybe Wailord EX or Zygarde EX. Those are probably really the only exceptions to that. But still, we also run other damage modifiers in the deck as well to actually hit for even more damage than that. So Garchomp is a great attacker and it trades really well against EX decks. So yeah, also has grass weakness, not a big deal since we do play Focus Sash in this list, and has free retreat, which is really, really good. Especially if like we have a Garchomp that's about to be knocked out, we can just easily retreat into another one without having to worry about discarding energy or anything like that, and just set up a fresh attacker. So Garchomp is a great card, and we play, like I was saying, things like Strong Energy. We also play Fighting Stadium and Muscle Band as well. So we have all these different ways to amplify Garchomp's damage output. So Garchomp is a really great attacker. Just for only 1 or 2 energies, he can hit for large, large amounts of damage. See, we won't cover the basic and stage 1. I don't think they're too relevant. The attacks are decent, but nothing really noteworthy. But then our other attacker we're going to take a look at is Hawlucha. So Hawlucha is 70 hit point basic, has the attack Flying Press for 1 fighting energy to 60 if your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX. So like we said, Garchomp is a stage 2 Pokemon, so that means we won't be able to attack with it until at least the second or third turn of the game. So if we are going against an EX deck and we have Hawlucha, we can actually start doing damage right on the first turn of the game if we go second. And like we were saying too, we play all these different damage modifying cards like Strong Energy, also Fighting Stadium, to where, on the first turn of the game, like I said, if we go second, we can actually start hitting up to maybe like 100 damage potentially. Well, actually, up to 120 since we do play Muscle Man as well. So Hawlucha is just a really, really fast, quick attacker that we can use while we're setting up our Garchomps. And actually, too, if you do get the combo of a Strong Energy, Fighting Stadium, and the Muscle Band, you can actually knock out Shaymins in one hit, because Hawlucha's ability also prevents his attacks from being affected by weakness or resistance. So this also has fighting resistance and also free retreat cost, which is really nice. All these Pokemon having low retreat costs means you don't have to dedicate many spots in the deck to switching cards. So that's another thing I do like a lot about Hawlucha. Okay, and then we're also playing one of the Stardust Jirachis. So the attack Stardust does 10 damage, and you discard a special energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. If you do, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to Jirachi during your opponent's next turn. So because Garchomp is a Stage 2 Pokemon, these Stage 2 decks usually are a little bit slower than other decks in the format, since we are reliant on using things like Rare Candy and Evolving and stuff like that. Uh, there's a lot of decks that give us problems. Seismitoad EX is a big one. Vespiquen Vileplume is probably another really big one. And Jirachi really, well, Night March, that's another popular one. But anyways, Jirachi just really helps with a lot of these unfavorable matchups that really either limit our uses of rare candy or are just so much faster than we are. So by using this, we can usually discard some special energies since these types of decks are usually very reliant on them. Jirachi can usually buy us an extra turn or two that we need just to get our board set up and more developed before we start going on the offensive. And what's really nice about this Jirachi and this Hawlucha, if you are a new player to the game, there's actually some blister packs that come with, I believe it's a pack of Breakthrough and either your choice of the Jirachi or Hawlucha promo card. So like I said, if you're just starting out and getting into the game, you can pick up these blister packs and get one of these promo cards really easily and start playing with them. So they shouldn't be too hard to get, I don't think. So like I said, we're playing Jirachi just to help slow down our opponent or, give us a chance in against these matchups that might otherwise be a little bit unfavorable. So yeah, guys, that is it for the Pokemon line. Not too much to say. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're just trying to evolve into Garchomp and do big amounts of damage for the least amount of energy possible, basically. So for our trainer cards, I'll start with the supporters first. Since this is a fighting deck, we are going to play 4 Karina. You search your deck for a fighting Pokemon and an item card, reveal them, put them into your hand. So this is really nice, especially on the second turn of the game. If you have a Gible in play, you can use Karina and actually grab a rare candy and a Garchomp, and just get your Garchomps out as quick as possible. So it has a ton of synergy in this type of deck. This is pretty much an all-fighting deck, so I see no reason not to max this card out. It seems really good. We also run a lot of one-of item cards in here as well, so Karina can also just help us search those out immediately. Okay, for other draw-based cards, we are going to play 3 Professor Sycamore. So you get discard your hand, draw 7 cards. One of the most powerful effects in the game, actually. So this is really nice because we can actually discard strong energies, or really any energy for that matter, and actually get them back out with Garchomp at some point in the game. So we're playing 3 of these. I opted not to max it out at 4 just because this is a Stage 2 deck, and sometimes you'll end up having rare candies or Garchomps in hand, and it's stuff you usually don't want to discard. So we still need to play Professor Sycamore. It's a great card, but I opted not to run 4. That way we had better odds of not drawing it on the first turn or 2 of the game. So we're also playing 2N. So each player shuffles their hand into his or her deck and draws equal to the amount of prize cards they have left. So this is really good in the early turns of the game because instead of playing something like Professor Sycamore, we can play N and keep some of those resources that we might have otherwise maybe have had to have discarded with Sycamore. And also too, since like we said, Garchomp is reliant on getting out, with rare candy, and we can't usually start attacking with it until turn 2. Some decks out there might outspeed us, and they might knock out 1 or 2 attackers before we really get our board set up. So N is a great way to punish decks that are faster than you, and in the late game can help make some big comebacks too. So great card. Playing 2 of those. 2 Lysander. So switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. So like we were saying, Garchomp can just immediately knock out Shaymins with his attack Bite Off, and pretty much every deck, even non-EX decks, still run Shaymin to help get set up. So we can take a couple easy prizes throughout the course of the game with Lysander that way. And just in general, it's just, Lysander is just a good card to help us choose what we want to knock out. And for the last of our support cards, we're going to play one Hex Maniac. So until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon in play, each player's hand, and in each player's discard has no abilities. So that's really good because if you notice our Pokemon line, nothing really has abilities. Hawlucha has an ability, but it's not one that's really relevant most of the time. And some of Garchomp's biggest bad matchups, I would say, are probably Vileplume variants, Trevenant variants, and Greninja Break. And all of those are very ability reliant, and those abilities are actually what give Garchomp such a hard time. So Hex Maniac is a good card that really helps against those negative, unfavorable matchups. And like we are saying, this whole deck doesn't really care about abilities, so it's just a good card that we can use against a variety of different decks without it negatively affecting our own. Okay, so that's it for the supporter cards. For the stadium cards, we are going to be playing 3 Fighting Stadium. The attacks of each fighting Pokemon in play does 20 more damage to the defending Pokemon EX. So, like we've been saying, this is pretty much exclusively a fighting deck other than the one Jirachi. So this card makes complete and total sense. So if we use Garchomp's Bite Off attack to do 160, well with Fighting Stadium that bumps it up to 180 if we don't have a strong energy. And also it helps turn Garchomp and Hawlucha's first attack into 2-hit knockouts. So with a Fighting Stadium in play and a strong energy attached, Garchomp and Hawlucha both would do 100 damage, and that's typically 2 shots most things in the format. Whereas if you didn't have these damage modifiers, it would usually take maybe about 3 attacks to take a knockout. So between this and strong energy, we really have enough different ways to help hit the optimal numbers to take knockouts. Okay, and so moving on to our item cards, we're playing 2 Ultra Ball. So discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for a Pokemon, put it into your hand. So this is really nice because we can grab anything out of our deck, and we can also put energies in the discard. That's a big thing because we can Ultra Ball maybe for a Garchomp, get it in play, and then actually accelerate energies we've discarded with this back onto the field with Garchomp's attack. So it has some synergy with our attacker, but we're only going to play 2 just because most stuff is searchable by Level Ball. So search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 hit points or less, reveal it, put it into your hand. So everything other than Garchomp has less than 90 hit points. So that's why we're going to play 2 of these. Okay, 4 Trainer's Mail. So look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a trainer card there and put into your hand, with the only exception being Trainer's Mail. So this is really good because we can maybe draw into a rare candy to get out our Garchomp, maybe another supporter. It just helps us grab the trainer cards that we need when we need them, basically. Okay, so since we are playing Garchomp, who is a stage 2, rare candy is pretty necessary, I would say, in this type of deck. So basically, it just lets you skip the middle evolution and go straight to the stage 2. So our channel is rare candy, so we gotta show some love and play some stage 2 decks that run rare candy as well. And we love Garchomp, both me and Marcus both. So we're very happy to play Garchomp and rare candy in this list. Okay, so we're playing 1 Sacred Ash. Shuffle 5 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So we're opting to play this over Super Odd because Garchomp can actually already get energies out of the discard. So Sacred Ash is better because we can get a lot more Pokemon. So we can grab maybe 2 Garchomp lines with this, or maybe like a Garchomp line and a Hawlucha and Jirachi, or something like that. It's just better to have Sacred Ash in this type of deck since it lets us get a lot more Pokemon. Okay, we're also playing 1 Professor's Letter. So search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. So we're playing this only because Karina is in the deck. So if we don't have a energy in hand, but we have Karina, we can search out a Pokemon and also grab a Professor's Letter. So it's kind of a way to cheat and let your Karina search for energies when you normally wouldn't be able to. So we're just going to play one of these just to give us the option for Karina. Okay, we're playing. I guess I'll talk about our Versus Seeker replacements next. So Versus Seeker is a tough card to get, like I said, especially when you're just starting out in the game. So we're going to opt to run 3 random receivers. You reveal cards from your deck until you hit a supporter card. So you put that in your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this is really nice, especially in the early turns of the game. If you don't have a supporter already in hand, but you have a random receiver, well, guess what? You're guaranteed a supporter now. So that's actually in a way a little bit better than Versus Seeker in some cases, because I mean I can't count the amount of games I've had where I've opened up, and started a game with no supporters in hand, but I would have a Versus Seeker just sitting there. So random receiver is actually better in those rare instances, but I would still definitely say Versus Seeker is a better card. But if you're just starting out, use these until you can get your hands on a playset. And then we're also playing 1 Pal Pad as well. Shuffle 2 support cards from your discard into your deck. So this is mainly more for cards like Hex Maniac or Lysander, just in case we have to discard them with Sycamore at some point, or we use them, we can reuse them later with Pal Pad. Okay, so we're also playing 1 Escape Rope. It's kind of an interesting inclusion because everything in this deck has a very low retreat cost. Jirachi is actually the only thing that has a retreat cost at all. But Escape Rope is kind of handy because Glaceon EX has been seeing a little bit of play lately, and that can give your Garchomp some problems potentially. So Escape Rope, you can kind of get around Glaceon's effect that it has, which normally prevents damage from evolved Pokemon. But it's also handy just in a variety of different instances where, maybe your opponent only has a Shaymin on the bench. Well, guess what? You can Escape Rope, force that Shaymin active, and since everything in your deck has pretty much a 0 retreat cost other than Jirachi, you can easily just retreat into the Pokemon you want to be attacking with. So it's more of a pseudo Lysander than it is a switching card in this type of list. So it's really handy. So for our Pokemon tool cards, we are playing 3 Focus Sash. If the fighting Pokemon this card is attached to has full hit points and would be knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, that Pokemon is not knocked out and the remaining hit points becomes 10 instead. And then you discard Focus Sash. So if you notice, everything in this deck is a non-EX. And with Focus Sash, it really makes your opponent take, 2 or 3 hit knockouts on your Garchomps and Hawluchas. So that's a big advantage this type of deck has, is that it trades very, very well against EX decks to begin with, but then also playing Focus Sash, it gives you a really good chance against non-EX decks as well. So take a deck like Night March, for example, who would typically just take knockouts every single turn. So with Focus Sash, they have to 2-shot you, but you can 1-shot all of their low HP attackers. So Focus Sash is really, really good. It has synergy with another card that we'll talk about in just a second too. And we're also playing 1 Muscle Band. So in case we have to play against a deck that doesn't take 1-hit knockouts, maybe something like a Mega Manectric deck or something like that, which would have to 2-shot your Garchomps. Muscle Band is actually better just because you would never get to use Focus Sash's ability in that situation. So we're playing 1 Muscle Band just to give us the extra flexibility of having a different type of card to help hit the numbers that we need to. And then for the last of our trainer cards, we have 1 Max Potion. And this card I love a lot. I would actually like to fit another one in this list as well. So heal all damage from one of your Pokemon. If you do, discard all energy attached to that Pokemon. So this is great with Garchomp because if you have to heal a damaged Garchomp and discard the energy, that's actually totally fine because you can actually just accelerate that energy back onto the field with an attack. So that makes sense with Garchomp. And then also with Focus Sash, this is a huge card because let's say someone attacks your Garchomp and it has a Focus Sash on it. Well, they attack it once and they're kind of counting on, hey, next turn I can finish it off, and that way Focus Sash doesn't prevent a knockout. Well, guess what? If you have a Focus Sash Garchomp or even Hawlucha or something else, you can play Max Potion, and suddenly you have a fresh Pokemon that your opponent still has to two-shot. So this helps turn all of your attackers into like two. I'm trying to think of the term. It makes your opponent have to do 2-hit or 3-hit knockouts in a lot of cases. And it just really helps deny prizes, which Garchomp already does a great job at. So I love this card in this list. If you can find room for a second one, I would actually try to fit it in there as well too. And then just to finish off our list, we're going to have 4 fighting energy and 4 strong energy. So strong energy, it's a special energy that can only be attached to fighting Pokemon, and the attacks of it do 20 more damage. So we've mentioned this a couple times already, but between this, Muscle Band, and Fighting Stadium, we actually have a bunch of different ways to turn our 3-hit knockouts into 2-hit knockouts. And also with Garchomp's second attack, we can help turn a 2-hit knockout into a 1-hit knockout. So Strong Energy is a great card, and we can accelerate it out of the discard pile as well, meaning that decks that rely heavily on stuff like Enhanced Hammer or Zerosic don't really affect us that much either. So yeah, guys, that is the list. I like this deck a lot, especially for newer players getting into the game. Garchomp is a pretty easy card to get your hands on at this point. And with Jirachi and Hawlucha both in blister packs that you can just buy right at the stores and not have to worry about pulling them out of packs. I really like this for a beginner type of deck. And actually, like I was saying too, if item lock decks kind of get a little less popular as time goes on, I actually think Garchomp will have a chance to shine in the metagame, just because he trades so well with EX decks. And also between Focus Sash and Max Potion, he can actually trade very well with non-EX decks like Night March as well. So that's why we chose to do Garchomp. He's one of our favorite Pokemon from BREAKpoint, so always happy to be able to show him off. And like we said, we do run Rare Candy in the list, so we got to show Rare Candy some love here. But yeah, guys, that is the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to keep trying to do more of these as time goes on. So as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch over at rarecandytcg.com, and we will see you guys for the next one, okay?